If you have a dog, especially a smaller one, you've probably seen your vet get really quiet for a moment during a checkup, stethoscope on, listening intently to their heart. Well, what they're often listening for is the very first clue to the single most common heart disease in dogs. And today, we're going to decode that condition.
Okay, so our guy on this journey is a number, 6,102. That's not just some random statistic. That's the number of dogs who took part in a huge, groundbreaking study called the LOOK-Mitral Registry. This study gave us the most detailed map we have ever had of this disease, and it's the foundation for everything we're about to talk about.
So what exactly are we dealing with here? It's called myxomatous mitral valve disease, or MMVD for short. The easiest way to think about it is this. The mitral valve is supposed to be a perfect little one-way door inside the heart. But with MMVD, that door gets kind of old and floppy. It doesn't seal shut anymore. And that means blood starts leaking backward, forcing the heart to work way harder than it should.
To really get a handle on this, we first have to meet the travelers on this journey. Which dogs are most likely to be walking this path. Thanks to the data from all those dogs, we have a really clear picture.
And you know what? The results might surprise you. At the very top of the list, making up over a quarter of the dogs, mixed breeds. This is so important because it tells us this isn't just a purebred problem. This affects all kinds of dogs. Of course, we also see the breeds we've known for a long time are at high risk. Your Cavalier King Charles Spaniels and Chihuahuas, right up there at the top.
But the study didn't just tell us which dogs are on this path. It also revealed something critical: when they start. Because for some of these travelers, the journey begins much, much earlier in life.
And here's the proof right in the data. Just look at the difference. When you look at the typical age of diagnosis for the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, you can see it's significantly younger than the other common breeds. It's a stark reminder that for some dogs, this path simply begins sooner. Okay, so we've met the travelers. Now let's take a look at the map itself. Cardiologists have broken this disease down into 3 main stages. It's how they figure out exactly where a dog is on their journey.
The official stages are B1, B2, and C. Think of them like checkpoints. The first two, B1 and B2, are basically silent. Stuff is happening inside, but your dog seems fine. Stage C is when you, the owner, might actually start to see the signs. Let's break down what each one means.
So we start at stage B1. This is the silent beginning. That valve is leaking, and a vet can hear it as a heart murmur, but the heart itself hasn't started to change shape or get bigger yet. And get this, a massive 65%, almost 2/3 of all the dogs in this study, were in this early, totally asymptomatic phase. Next up is stage B2. At this point, the heart's been working overtime because of that leak, and it's actually started to get bigger. It's a physical change a vet can measure on an X-ray. But, and this is the key part, your dog still looks and acts totally normal. About 15% of the dogs in the study were at this checkpoint.
And finally, the journey can lead to stage C. This is when the heart just can't keep up anymore, and it leads to what we call congestive heart failure. This is the stage where owners start noticing those signs we all dread, like a cough that won't go away or fast, heavy breathing. 20% of the dogs in the study had reached this advanced stage.
So how do vets even track this? How do they know if a dog is moving from one stage to the next? Well, one of the best tools is still one of the oldest, the stethoscope. And this study confirmed it in a big way. The louder and stronger that heart murmur is, the more likely the disease is to be in a later stage. And the numbers make this crystal clear. I mean, look at this. In that early silent stage B1, only about 1/3 of dogs have a really loud murmur, one you can even feel vibrating through their chest wall. But then, watch this jump. By stage B2, that number skyrockets to 78%, and it hits nearly 90% by stage C. It's a huge physical clue about what's really going on inside.
But a study this massive isn't just about confirming things we already kind of knew. When you dig into the data from thousands of dogs, you start to find some really surprising new things. Stuff that gives us a whole new way of looking at this disease. All right, let's talk about something that drives owners and vets crazy. A small dog with a heart murmur starts coughing. Is it the heart? Or is it something else, like allergies or bronchitis? What's the real story?
Well, the data gave us a fantastic clue. Researchers looked specifically at dogs that did not have fluid in their lungs, so not in classic heart failure, and they found a direct link. The dogs with more severely enlarged hearts were way more likely to have a cough.
It suggests that the bigger heart itself might be physically pressing on the airways, causing that cough even before things get more serious. Okay, now here's a finding that really shook things up a bit. It's about something called systolic dysfunction. Basically, think of the heart as a pump. Systolic dysfunction just means the squeeze of that pump is getting weaker. For a long time, the thinking was that this was a rare problem, mostly something you'd see in bigger dogs with MMVD. Well, it turns out that's not the whole story. The data from this massive study showed that 4% of the small dogs, we're talking dogs under 44 pounds, had this weakened pump function. Now, it's still not super common, but it proves this is something that can and does happen in our little guys too.
So after all this data and all these stages, we get to the most important question, right? What does all of this mean for you and your dog? How can you use this amazing new map to help navigate the road ahead?
From your perspective as an owner, this disease really has two faces. In the early stage, there's often nothing to see. The whole journey starts with a quiet clue that only your vet can pick up with their stethoscope. It's only later on that the signs might start showing up at home. That murmur gets louder, maybe a cough starts, their breathing gets faster, or in serious cases, they might even faint.
So let's boil it all down. What can you do? First, those regular vet checkups are everything. That's your early warning system. Second, if your vet hears a heart murmur, don't just brush it off. It's the first signpost on this map, and it means it's time to investigate. Third, you can become a huge part of the team by learning to monitor your dog's breathing rate when they're sleeping. And last, like we saw in the data, if you have one of those at-risk breeds, any new cough is a really good reason to call your vet and ask, could this be their heart?
This incredible study, built on the health records of thousands of our beloved pets, has given us the clearest map we've ever had of their most common heart disease. It really makes you wonder, as we keep gathering this kind of big data, what other secrets are just waiting to be unlocked that could help our best friends live even longer, healthier lives?